Hello Cloud people. Today I'm going to show you the new features of Harbor 2.2 and I'm going to walk you through what is new, what changed, and makes Harbor 2.2 an interesting release for you and why it makes sense to upgrade. So let's start first with the summary. I created a little summary about the new functionality of Harbor 2.2 and summarized all the changes. And now I'm going to do a few of the highlights or highlight a few of them. Well, the biggest feature change that was introduced in Harbor 2.2 was the robot accounts or the revamped robot accounts that makes it much easier and better to work with robot accounts in automated context, especially in CI/CD environments. And let's jump right into it. So we have now two options where we can configure robot accounts. One option is on the system level, so it's called the system-wide robot accounts, and the other option is to configure robot accounts on the project level that we already knew before. And now the robot accounts have a bit of a different UI, and there is also the option to select multiple projects. That's why system-wide we can create now robot accounts that span across multiple projects, or we can create robot accounts that cover our complete container registry. On top of that, we have the possibilities to to well gain more permissions, meaning that we can not only now, comparing to the past, that we can only um, push pull images and charts. We can also now control tags. We can create artifact labels. We can trigger scans, and we can create chart versions. So we have much more options that we gained in Harbor 2.2. This is especially useful in the CI/CD environments where we have a lot of things automated. We want to trigger automated scans. We want to trigger changes in our images, or we want to update tags of images. If a test fails, for example, we don't want to promote it anymore further, so we want to stop it, and we can relabel and rechange our containers based on the status of test outcomes, which now makes it much easier and more usable in that context. So the next functionality that I would like to highlight, because it's personally for me very interesting one, and it's a well-needed one, is basically the robot name prefix, so that you can adapt now the prefix of the robot account. Well, it's not very needed in the sense that, but it's kind of annoying if you have a $sign and if you want to use a robot account on a CLI or in the CI/CD pipelines, and those dollars get interpreted in as a variable name on the shell, and it makes it super cumbersome to find out why things not working and then why you have these permission problems. And so now we can just avoid it and rename our robot accounts with a different prefix. Makes life much easier, and also finding bugs much easier. So this is a really neat little feature that deserves its attention as well. We have now the option to or additional interrogation services. So we can not only have Trivia and Claire, we can add also other scanners that are specifically Aquasec. The CSP Enterprise Vulnerability Scanner has now its own connector in Harbor, so we can use this now easier with Harbor. But we have, of course, it's not shipped with Harbor. Then we have functionality on the backend side, or on the monitoring side. We have a new monitoring endpoints, meaning that we can Harbor now exposes metrics to Prometheus, and Prometheus can then delegate this to Grafana so that we can visualize metrics. I'm gonna make a dedicated video on the metric side and show you what metrics we have now in Harbor and how you can visualize and use those. But this is going to be a topic on its own. Then what else? Two other important changes in the harbor is one, the deprecation of Claire, because I mean Claire was the first one, yeah, the first open source vulnerability scanner out there. It's still widely used. However, it has, it has its flaws because it's MySQL based. It's a bit of resource intense, so it it's a bit cumbersome to operate and work. And Trivy is a good and or maybe even a better alternative to Claire, and it makes totally sense to only support one good vulnerability scanner versus two. Yeah, and the other deprecation is Chat Museum. Chat Museum is now not really needed anymore because Helm supports OCI compliant image store, meaning that we can use same uh, technique that we store container images. We can use it also for storing Helm charts. So we basically wrap Helm charts in containers and store them on the container registry. And Harbor supports, of course, OCI compliant, is an OCI compliant container registry, and we can use it out of the box with Helm. This way makes it more easier, less tools to use, and also we don't need chart museum for that. And yeah, that's other the main features of Harbor 2.2. We have a small one which is nice for operating and administering Harbor, is the OIDC admin group. So you allowing us to define Harbor admins on the IDP level, and those admins on the IDP level will be transferred to Harbor, and Harbor will add those users into Harbor as admins as well. So we can, yeah, define who is an admin in Harbor much easier than assigning each individual user in Harbor, so we can control it from our IDP point of view. Yeah, that these are the changes in Harbor 2.2. I highly recommend you give it a try, especially the robot accounts are very good uh, addition to Harbor, because it gives the developers more degrees of freedom, more power, and more options to automate container workflows. So give it a try. You can read up the blog post on container registry. You can also sign up for a trial on container registry, or take the free option with the c8n.io, which is the container community container registry, which is also Harbor based. So try it out, and we'll see each other next time. Bye.